All right, Bob Hines, HomeWrights Custom Homes. What's going on at this beautiful building site?
Okay, here we go again. We got another project underway. As you can see, dug a big hole, put a big old foundation in there. We're going to put some window wells on it early next week, and then we'll start to backfill, and then we'll dig a hole for the garage in the backyard, and we're off and running. We'll start to go vertical here in about 3 or 4 more weeks.
How big of a house is it?
This is we're gonna have about 4,000 square feet of living space above ground, and then another 2,000 square feet in the basement, and we're gonna have about a 700 square foot 3-car garage in the back.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great location,
Yeah.
close to downtown.
Spectacular location. Great location relative to transportation corridors, relative to shopping. We're only about a mile from Cherry Creek Shopping Center, so this is gonna be, this is gonna be really special.
So in this case, investors are building this to flip at the end of the deal?
That's right. Well, you wouldn't say, you wouldn't say that they're going to flip it.
Flip is
but
not the right word.
Yeah, I mean, they're building to sell. This is a speculative project. And even in spite of what's happened in the market in the last 9 months with respect to interest rates, they still think it's a very rosy outlook. And I agree with them. I think I think what this is going to look like when it's done in terms of dollars and cents is going to be absolutely terrific.
So with interest rates having gone up, how do people manage that? I mean, obviously one way is to keep the building costs down.
Well, you got to manage your building costs. Obviously, that's where we come in.
Yeah.
Gee, HomeWrights, what a great idea for managing building costs, right? But you got to manage your building costs, and you just got to plan very carefully, and you got to plan for your particular market. For example, when you're looking at a house like this, right from the start, before it even goes onto the drawing board, you know approximately what your sell price is going to be, or what your target sell price is going to be. And at a certain target sell price, you know exactly what you need to put into it in terms of windows and appliances and floors and tile and countertops and finishes, right? And so you plan to those finishes, and you build your budget to those finishes, and then you got to manage prudently. Now, we had kind of a blessing fall into our lap because, or they had kind of a blessing fall into their lap on this one because the original lumber bid that we got, it took a long time to get the permit for this, but the original lumber bid we got was higher by about $50,000 than the lumber bid we got 2 weeks ago.
What?
Yes,
Why?
lumber has gone down that much for a project of this magnitude. Lumber has gone down that much.
Wow.
In just that time period, from
Amazing.
from July of last year to January of this year. So they just saved $50,000.
With a traditional builder, though,
That might not happen.
that probably wouldn't happen because everybody agreed on the price. The builder said, hey, it is what it is. I'm saving some money. I'm making it, right?
Right. Contract price, and the builder kind of rolls the dice. The builder might have won, might have lost, right? But in this case, the owner is the one that's going to win.
So when you're the owner builder, if things go up or down, you get that benefit.
You win or you lose.
It goes both ways. Right?
Yes, that's exactly right. Next year we're going into a presidential election year. We'll start a presidential election cycle anyway. And because we're starting that cycle, historically, you can go back 80 years in the United States, historically what's going to happen is interest rates are likely to go back down. They're probably likely to go back down anyway, but the presidential election cycle is going to help that a lot.
So if I can keep
we're optimistic.
Yeah. So even if the interest rates go up, the owner-builder approach allows a person to keep the building costs low because there's no middleman, there's no markup. Everything they purchase is the price they get it for.
Yeah, absolutely,
Like the lumber you just
100%.
talked
You're right.
about.
No middleman, completely transparent. A dollar spent is a dollar billed. It's just that simple. There's just no question about it.
Okay. So
anyway,
tell us about this house. So what is it you're trying to accomplish here?
we're trying to have fun with construction.
There you go.
And that's what we do every day, in fact. And in fact, I've been thinking about that a lot lately because we have a lot of clients that come back to us time after time after time. We've got one client right now who's working on his 8th house with us.
Wow.
We've got an enormous project in Boulder. That's his 2nd project with us. And there's a lot of other examples. And so I kind of ponder what it is about that, what it is about this process that makes people want to do it over and over and over again. And I can tell you for sure that we've had clients that the moment they finish the project, they say to us, they say, "Oh my God, that was horrible. That's something I'll never do again as long as I live." And then a year and a half later, they call us back and they say, "I'm ready to start another project." There's something that's very inspirational about doing these projects. There's something that's almost visceral about the satisfaction that you get, the satisfaction that these people get from watching these things go vertical, from watching these things go from a hole in the ground to a beautiful finished home, and especially a beautiful finished home that they had a hand in. They may not have physically done anything to build it, but the intellectual energy that they put into it, the creative energy that they put into it, and the energy that they put into managing it on a day-to-day basis, those are all colossal efforts. And they see these things come up out of the ground, and they see the finished product, and they're very, very proud, and they're very, very excited.
So they get to share in that creativity, and they don't have to lift a hammer or pull that saw across that 2x4 at the same time.
Right, and they're walking around the job site during the day, or they're walking around the job site on the weekends. They're looking at the progress. Sometimes they're cleaning up or doing whatever, and it's fun. It's fun. They're surrounded by creativity.
Yeah.
They're surrounded by all that positive energy that's going into it.
And so of the people we're talking about, the clients that you're serving, how many of them actually have construction experience?
3%, 5%.
Wow.
Yeah, most, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're chief information officers, they're plumbers, they're surveyors. They have they run small professional companies, small cleaning companies, or whatever. They're none of them are builders. None of them are born builders.
Yeah.
They all have good management skills. They all have good organizational skills. They all have the ability to manage a checkbook. They all have the ability to make friends and influence people and get along with people. And they have the ability, and this is one thing that we stress a lot, they have the ability to see 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks out, look at a calendar and stretch their own time horizon. And that's one of the things that we take a huge role in, is stretching that time horizon, making sure that people are thinking far enough out so that nothing sneaks up on them and nothing surprises them, and the project doesn't go into the dump for 3 or 4 or 6 weeks because we forgot something. That's a huge part of the process.
So if people have those personality traits, those organizational skills, and the ability to think ahead and look ahead, what does HomeWrights bring to the table for the owner-builder?
The best way to think of that is this: it's as if we are the giant builder that's in the background, and each of these owner builders are job superintendents for the giant builder. And so we're in the background making sure that the subcontractors are good, making sure that the budgets are right, making sure that the banks are in line, making sure that the vendors all have good intentions, making sure that the pricing is right on those things, making sure that our superintendents, our owner builders, have a good schedule to work from, and then helping them with scheduling and budgeting and inspections, making sure the permitting is all easy squeezy, and then visiting the job site with them as much as possible, or as much as they need us to, holding their hand basically every step of the way.
Sure.
And I'm always reluctant to use that expression, holding their hand, because there's some people who just don't like hearing that. So another way to think of it maybe is, we are like the Sherpa. Our clients still have to make the climb, okay?
Right.
But we're there to help them carry the gear and to make sure they take the right path.
You've been up that path many times.
We've been up that path so many times, and we're comfortable with that path. We could do it in our sleep.
So let me ask about that. How long has HomeWrights been in business doing this owner-builder process?
20 years, 400 homes, easily more than $400 million in completed projects.
Wow. Where does one begin with this whole process?
A little bit of a chicken and egg thing there, because we have to have some kind of a drawing, some kind of inspiration to start with. And sometimes our clients, sometimes a potential client will come to us and their inspiration is nothing more than something they saw in a magazine or something they saw, maybe they saw something on the internet. That's their inspiration house. They want to build something that looks just like that.
Sure.
Or they went on a Parade of Homes tour and they saw an inspiration house. And typically what we can do is we can take that inspiration house and we can kind of ballpark it and say that's going to cost you X. And if they're comfortable with X, then the next step is let's sit down with a professional draftsman or an architect. Let's get those plans drawn, okay? Maybe we don't have to get them ready for permit, but let's get a preliminary set of plans drawn so that we've got something we can really sink our teeth into and do some precise pricing. Okay, and we can come up with a pretty darn precise, it's still preliminary, but it's a pretty darn precise preliminary budget. At that point in time, if the person is comfortable with that preliminary budget, the next step is finish the plans, go to permit, arrange financing, start getting bids, arrange the subcontractors, we're off and running.
Cool. And so tell us about that subcontractor process. I have no idea, as a first-time custom home builder, where I'm going to find these people other than by doing a Google search, which sounds kind of scary.
You could do that. You could go ahead and search Google, or you could go to Craigslist or whatever. There's obviously a whole bunch of different resources out there for finding subcontractors, but we've done all that work. We've been working with some of our stable of vetted subcontractors. We've been working with some of them for 20 years. Right from the very first project. Some people are still with us, and the good ones in particular. Yeah. Every once in a while we do thin the herd if they don't behave themselves, or if they're not consistent performers, then we thin the herd. But we've got a terrific group of subcontractors, also a terrific group of suppliers. Our clients have access to that. We walk our clients through the process of getting multiple bids. We think that's the appropriate way to manage a project. So we'll get 3 bids on the excavation, and 3 bids on the foundation, and 3 bids on framing, and 3 bids on lumber, and so on. But, and the way I like to say it is, we get an opinion but not a vote. So if our client is sitting there with 3 bids in front of them, 3 different framers, we're going to tell them what we think about the personality and the behavioral patterns of each of those 3 framers.
Because you've worked with them for 20 years.
We've worked with them for 10, 15, 20 years. Our client then gets the opportunity to say, you know what, I think this one is going to fit the best. It's not always a price question.
Sure.
Sometimes our clients don't pick the least expensive guy because there are other aspects that they're very interested in, like how big is the crew and how fast are they going to work, and a number of other things, but it's not always the cheapest guy. Sometimes it's just who they think is going to be the best fit for them. We don't make the decision, the client does.
So once I decide as an owner builder who I want to have do all the work, the subcontractors, etc., how does HomeWrights help me in that process? Because I still kind of have no idea where to begin.
Sure. I mean, well, the simple answer to that question is you pick the guy and you say, hey, I need you to show up on July 1st, right? And start doing your thing. I need you to start being my plumber on July 1st. But we've got contract templates so that you write a good contract with your subcontractor. And then when I say a good contract, what I mean is this is a document that's designed to protect you, the owner builder, just to make sure that the language is there to protect you from claims, to protect you from liens, to protect you from people who leave the state for 3 weeks, and delay your project. We've got that contract in place. We'll show our clients how to write those contracts to make sure that they're protected and that they're conducting their building business like a professional builder would conduct his building business or her building business.
So as the owner builder, I'm making the decisions about who I'm going to work with, but you're giving me the paperwork and the administrative process to make sure I follow through on the details that need to take place.
Right, as well as a digital filing system to keep it all organized, as well as a daily logging system so that you can come out to the job site, take some pictures of your project, and our daily logging system is going to say, okay, you took this picture on February 14th, and on that day it was 34 degrees and it was snowing, and that's why there's no workers on the job site.
Right.
Or you took this picture on August 12th and it was 101 degrees, and that's why there's no workers on the job site. But the point is, we've got a digital support system for them to use that totally keeps them organized, keeps them on schedule. We've got all the tools.
So let's talk about the type of personality that would be successful at this. But first, let's go back a little bit. Why does somebody want to do this? Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work. It might even be fun. But I'm doing this to save money, right?
Yeah, definitely. Our clients do this to save money. But there's always something more. With every client, there's always been something else that they're very interested in. I'd say for most of them, it has to do with control. There's no politically correct way for me to say this. Almost every one of our clients is anal retentive. They are people who really, really want control. They really, really like the idea of being able to manage the puppet strings throughout the entire process. So that's part of the answer to your question, is these are people who like control. Obviously, there are people who like to keep the tight reins on their money, but there are also people who, they may not see it this way on day one, but they certainly see it this way as the home is progressing, and particularly when it moves into the finishing phases. These are people who, they have a creative energy and they need an outlet for that creative energy, and this is an unbelievably good outlet for that creative energy. Sure. They get the opportunity to choose their own cabinets, choose their own floors, choose their own tile, choose their own windows, choose their own exterior materials. They're totally in control of all those choices, and that's a really huge appeal for a lot of our clients.
Because those choices would be different if it's a custom home I'm building to move into versus one I'm going to sell.
Most likely.
Or rent,
right?
Right?
Most likely.
I would make different decisions about how much to spend on that countertop.
Right. If you're building a house to sell, you might buy a $49 toilet seat. Mm-hmm. If you're building a house to live in, I guarantee you're going to buy a much nicer toilet seat. And that's just a simple, silly example, but it's a very real example.
Yep. Bob, there are three things I've heard you talk about within the HomeWrights marketing. Simple, different, better. What does that mean?
Just to put this in perspective, okay, let's talk about a traditional custom home building process. And I want to use that as contrast, because many times people come to us, it's not the first custom home that they've had built. They've had another custom home built somewhere else, and by a professional builder, and some of them have nothing but absolutely wonderful things to say about that experience and about the builder that they worked with. I think that's the majority of people who come to us, but the one thing that was missing is that freedom. The one thing that was missing, the one thing that was missing was that freedom and that bit of creativity. And so what we've done is we've designed a system that still gives them that satisfaction of having the house come up out of the ground. And it still gives them the protection of somebody having their back all the time. We've got their back every step of the way. But it gives them that little bit of extra freedom to be the creative influence in the entire thing. And of course, to be able to manage the dollars and cents. It's a simple system, and the distinction between this system and a traditional system, it's a simple distinction. Just make it completely transparent. Mm-hmm. Just make it so that the homeowner has all the control and all the creative influence in there. So it's just simple, and because of that, it's dramatically different, and we think it's better, and obviously a lot of our clients do too, especially the ones that come back and do it again.
Yeah, you've got customers who've been with you for many years.
Yeah, like I mentioned this earlier, we've got one client who's on his 8th project. We've got several more who are on their 3rd or 4th or 5th. We've got some clients who are builders. I mean, they actually call themselves a professional builder, but they're using us for the management process. They're using us for our tools and our systems and our processes because it makes them more efficient. And then we've got the processes and the tools and the systems to help make them better. So, you know, I guess here's the thing that I really want people to understand about HomeWrights and about our owner-builder process. First of all, I don't know of anybody else that does an owner-builder process like this. We've got it dialed in. We've done it so many times, 400 homes and so many different personalities. We know how to make this work for just about any kind of different person, any kind of different personality. Second thing that I think is really important for everybody to know is you may not picture yourself as a home builder, but you've got the skills. Everybody that's walked into our door has been a little bit timid about their skill set, and they may say something like, "Gee, I don't know wall boards from floorboards. I don't know any of that stuff." But the truth is, that's not the skill set you bring. The skill set you bring is managing people and managing money and managing a calendar. That's the skill set, and almost everybody has that skill set, at least to some degree. And then we've got the tool set or the toolkit to help fill that out or to help make that happen. Our system is it's simple, it's different for sure, okay? And it's absolutely better. It's a terrific way to build a custom home. We stress transparency in everything we do. We stress transparency with every single one of the subcontractors that we work with. Subcontractors send their bids directly to the homeowner. They don't send them to us, they send them directly to the homeowner. We don't have any invisible hand in that action. That's just the transaction between the subcontractor and the homeowner. And if the homeowner wants to change something, they don't have to talk to us first. They talk to the subcontractor and say, "Hey, can we move this closet wall?" So there's complete transparency there, complete flexibility, enormous creativity. There's just so many things that make it simple, better, transparent. I think there are some people, when they look at our website or look at some of our literature, or even when they think about the whole process of being an owner-builder, they may get the mistaken impression that, oh, well, this is only for little homes, or this is only for little projects. Or sometimes people get the absolute opposite impression when they look at some of the photographs that they see on our website, because we've got some pretty magnificent homes that we've been a part of. And so I think sometimes people get the impression that it's just not quite right for them. But the reality is, and this is so important for us to stress, and I think if you look long and hard enough at our gallery of homes that you see on our website, you'll see that we've participated, we've helped people with every imaginable kind of house. From a $10 million legacy home to a $400,000 starter home. And every kind of materials you can imagine. We've had clients that have gone to the extreme with respect to energy efficiency. They have incorporated every imaginable feature they possibly could to make the house energy efficient, and we are expert at that. We really understand how to help them get that done. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have clients who are looking for shelter. They want it to be nice, they want it to be warm or cool, and they want it to be energy efficient, but that's not their driving force. Their driving force is 3 bedrooms and a place to park the cars and a kitchen. You know, so it's just our system, our process can help with every kind of home imaginable and every kind of client imaginable.